So, why am I wrong? We watch it. I see other videos from this guy. Why am I wrong?
It's v.h.s.x.
Can you hear it on YouTube?
What do you mean?
Kaga, you good to go? I think we're chilling. I think we're vibing. But then again, oh, I'm gonna have to. How could I do the overlay? Because unfortunately, I'd have to move this every time. I just don't think I'm gonna have chat on screen, to be honest. Because I don't have an overlay for it. And I'm not gonna add it, so I don't care. That's fine. What's up, Necro? You can hear it? Wait, Kage, can you hear it on YouTube? Rage baiting, sort of. Okay. Let's just watch it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, wanted to have a reaction discussion video from Siptonic.
Okay, I'm already fucking triggered. Bro, I'm already triggered. I can't. This video is already going to get demonetized. Why can nobody in the year 2025 say my name Gamer, you typed it. There is no L. It is not slip. It is not Siptonic. Bro, I don't know why everyone has it. Like, everyone who says my name for the first time cannot say it correctly. I'm already... Wait, hold on.
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, wanted to have a reaction discussion video from Siptonic.
Okay, maybe... Whatever. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Bro, I'm already going to crash out.
Titled, Tunneling and Slugging Might Be Removed Forever. So this was recommended to me by one of the community members on the Discord. So if you want to join the community Discord, it is linked in the description. Make sure you accept the rules, the little knife emoji. But I was recommended this. I wanted to actually give it a bit of a watch and kind of see what's going on, you know. So they're talking about the developer update, obviously.
Other stuff. What I'm most looking forward to are the slugging and tunneling changes, as I believe that is the most problematic issue, specifically when it comes to solo queue Survivor. So it looks like be important on the ground for more than 90 seconds now. You can...
Well, right off the bat, I can kind of see what video we're about to get into.
Okay, what's the video?
For anybody watching this,
what's the video?
You know, obviously, do not send any negativity or any hate to this individual. Because,
no, go for it. I'm bored.
I could use. We're just trying to go
fun.
into this from, you know, with the utmost respect, of course. I'm just trying to hear the points here, because I can kind of see there's a bit of a predisposed bias kind of forming here, so we just got to make sure.
How do you know that though? Like, I literally only, like, I'm specifically referring to like solo queue Survivor and how this. Okay, sure, yep, predisposed bias. I mean, hey, you're Ghostface, you're a killer player, you have a predisposed bias to killer. Like, of course, I play Survivor. But okay,
standpoint and try to explain,
hi, babe.
You know, the other side of it.
Obviously, this is amazing. I love this. So they also have a couple videos here. You can recover while crawling, and you crawl significantly faster, it looks like, as well. So that's great. I love this. Obviously, a lot of people, like, take this with a grain of salt. A lot of people are going to be really upset about these changes. They're going to say Survivor OP, they don't need these, you know, baseline buffs. However, the biggest issue plaguing DBD is solo queue. The amount of tunneling at 5 gens, turning the game into a 3v1 as fast as possible, leaving people on the ground for, you know, no inherent actual value, and just slugging them to kind of be a turd. So hopefully...
Well, I have to kind of disagree, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. I think that when you make statements like these, you're kind of missing the point of why these things occur. So as I've said many times, obviously, slugging, tunneling, all forms of strategy that are used like just purely to create a strategic advantage.
Okay, wait, go back. Like, for the biggest issue plaguing DBD is solo queue. The amount of tunneling at 5 gens, turning the game into a 3v1 as fast as possible, leaving people on the ground for, you know, no inherent actual value, and just slugging them to kind of be a turd. Okay, so right here, right in the beginning of my reaction to the patch notes, I state that one of, like, the biggest issues is essentially, particularly when it comes to solo queue, because, like, Swifts can typically handle this, is Russian teching or firing one person out of the game as fast as possible at 5 gens, ignoring other survivors. Okay? As well as slugging people to essentially BM, to be, a jerk. Whether you want to hump them, you got a slugging build, you just want to leave them on the ground, even in situations where, you should just pick them up because there's no survivors around, etc. Like, leaving somebody on the ground for a total of like 2+ minutes. It's really boring. Sometimes it doesn't actually fit into like a play style that brings you value and pressure as killer. Sometimes people just do it to be a turd and to, piss people off, which is true. What's hilarious though is the response.
Well, I have to kind of disagree, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. I think that when you make statements like these, you're kind of missing the point of why these things occur. So as I've said many...
What? Okay. So here's my first like real issue. Okay, here's my first real issue. I know why people use tunneling and slugging, but the problem is, they didn't. This doesn't. How do I want to word this? This doesn't. This is opposite to my point. I'm talking about slugging and tunneling that isn't used for pressure and because it's needed. I'm talking about slugging and tunneling that's used as a playstyle and aggressively at the beginning of the game. Like abusing this strategy specifically. Bro. Like I understand why killers okay, here's the thing too, right? You watch me, I say it all the time. Like there'll be people in my chat saying, yeah, the killer kind of tunneled me or the killer kind of focused me out. Hey, there was 1 gen left. There were 4 survivors up. They needed a kill. I will tell my own friends, like, yeah, you kind of did get focused, but it wasn't really tunneling because the killer needed pressure and the game was almost over. I know why people do this. I do it too. But I don't literally go into a game and say, that person looks like they're new. Oh, they have 100 hours? Yeah, I'm just going to get them out of the game and then win. Like, I don't do that.
Times, obviously. Slugging, tunneling, all forms of strategy that are used.
I think I even say that in a video.
Like a strategic advantage. Now, are there cases where killers will just throw their games to just get somebody out for whatever reason? Of course.
What up, Beast?
Have killers in the past slug people out just from the beginning? Like they don't just like slug to get pressure. They just like slug from the very beginning.
And that's what I am talking about. So this person agrees with me. They agree that this stuff happens. And I am saying for a solo queue survivor and or somebody who is new to the game, this is one of the most boring, unattractive things to play against, and it happens pretty consistently. Regardless of what people will want to tell you. Because I literally see it. Every single time I do open Swift lobbies, every single time I play DBD, I see it. Like, that's what this person literally agrees with me. I'm confused.
To end from all the full duration, yeah, of course that happens. But we should not villainize the entire killer base or villainize the entire strategies just because of...
Who is? Not me. I literally... Again, who's doing that? No one's creating a villain. I'm so distraught. Dude, I don't know how to spell villainizing. I'm dumb. I don't even know if I want to put this on here. I'm like already triggered. How do you spell villainizing? Is it like that? Or am I dumb? That is right? Not villainizing, comma, but maybe we're playing a little bit of the victim. Just saying. I'm just saying. Maybe the killer players are being a little bit, we're victimized a little bit here. Yeah, we're watching your YouTube video.
Still very few that do that. Because at the end of the day, these are still things that people do to be strategic. And I have to point out that as much as I also, enjoy playing killer, there are also plenty of things that survivors also engage in that are strategies that I may disagree with, to think that it's really unfair, or in this case, to be toxic. But I'm not going around and going into every video saying that, obviously, because
Okay, irrelevant point.
I'm fully aware that they are part of strategy, right? So when it comes down to actually trying to explain this, because I understand that a vast majority of people who play a lot of Survivor, especially in solo queue, don't touch killer. So it's hard to kind of explain it, because when you've experienced it, you understand like these are things that are required, especially when you are playing lower tier killers. There's a lot of killers in this game that are within the C tier,
yes,
and a lot in the D tier as well. And as somebody who mains a good amount of them, like Chucky, completely a C tier all through and through. Ghostface, a D tier.
Okay, Chucky might be a C tier killer now, but up until he got recent nerfs, he was like a pretty good A tier killer. So
through and through,
side
garbage,
point,
absolutely terrible. Like you could say even pre-rework Freddy, which was a completely D tier killer. I was maining him before the rework. And utilizing strategy was one of the most important aspects to actually have a fighting chance, because you are just sitting here and playing the lowest tier. So when it comes down to a character that has no ability to anti-loop, no ability for chasing, nothing to actually help with the gameplay loop at all, you're going to have to try to get to 3 survivors as quickly as you can, because ultimately gens are not only the easiest objective to complete, but also does not require you to actually use any game sense or really utilize really much. There's not a lot of
Right, and my point here, so brings up a good point. This is a common point that I see brought up, and this is what everyone was saying in regards to the PTB and the proposed changes, is that it'll create a bigger disparity between top tier killers like S and A tier and then everyone else. And that is an issue with killer balance. It is very, very, very clear if you look at all the killers that are on the top echelon, tier A and tier S, they have mobility. Killers that are on the bottom tier have no mobility built into their power. That's just the separating piece. The faster you are from going to hook to chase or to protect your gens or to go across the map, the stronger killer you're going to be. That is an issue with killer design and killer power balance, right? And my whole point of being positive about these changes is that we would have more of a baseline kind of like rule set for DBD in terms of like what behavior will and will not allow, in terms of like just allowing you to focus one survivor and get them out of the game, making it harder for killer to do so, and then saying, okay, what would be next? Well, gen speed, like kill rates went down, maybe obviously because of these changes. We're keeping people alive a little bit longer, at least like 4 people in a trial a little bit longer with some of these baseline mechanics. And now we can maybe look at like gen speeds. And I think you have to look at like the base sort of like gameplay loop before you can go through and look at all the killers and start like squishing them together in terms of like power balance. Because also side note, one of the issues that a lot of people also have is like killer players constantly complain how this new killer coming out is just like killer A, B, C, and D. Well, right, because they've realized almost everyone that wants to play like a killer chooses a killer that has an anti-loop and mobility built in. You look at Blight, you look at Ghoul, you look at Springtrap, I mean, it's kind of mobility. You look at like the new Freddy, you look at Billy, you look at Nurse. Some of the strongest killers in the game, almost all of them have anti-chase and mobility. So obviously a lot of the killers they're going to create are going to be, essentially a shell of that. Now, it'd be interesting because like a lot of people want want the killers closer together in terms of strength. But then that means they would pretty much need to give all low tier killers some form of mobility. And then how would they not be all like one another? There would be no uniqueness really anymore. Every killer has some sort of like dash, teleport, whatever. And I mean, it's like they don't want it. People don't want that. It's a tough issue to solve, and it's a tough balancing issue to figure out, because you don't want to make every killer the exact same. Gen patrolling takes little to no effort as well. Maintaining a 3-gen is extremely easy with a lot of S to A tier killers. I say this as someone, right? And that goes to part of the problem. You can't really make a lot of baseline changes without like the top killers winning. Like the top tier killers are always going to benefit more or be hurt less than the low tier killers, but that's a killer balancing problem that needs to be solved on that end of the spectrum, not from like the survivor POV. Well, yeah, I mean, that's also an issue. There are a lot of perks, powers, and characters that you'd have to balance. It's a long haul, which is why they can't really do it all at once, but they can implement measures like this in the background to like alleviate some of the pain points and then like adjust them accordingly so it isn't impacting people who are playing like fairly.
input. There's even the ability to just toggle the gen for it to complete itself, right? Because you can just press a key on your keyboard and it'll just fill it by itself, and then on occasion you'll just hit space for the skill check. That is an option. You can do that. So the vast majority of the time, you're just simply not really in chase, because chases shouldn't last that long for killers unless they're gonna lose their game. So most of the survivor time is just downtime. You're just not actively like doing much besides on the.
I kind of disagree, and I kind of don't disagree. If the killer's really good and they're playing, like, if they have decent game sense, I mean, maybe if you're playing against a really good Swift, and the Swift is like, because if what he's saying is true, like if killer's having a decently fast chase, I mean, killers are going to need to get off the gen, go heal, take chase, maybe try and help the person who's getting focused. I mean, I understand. I don't know if this is kind of just, if he's trying to make the argument of like Survivor easy, they don't do anything, it's boring. I'm not quite sure. Sorry, chat, I can't read a lot of those paragraphs. I want to get through this video really quick. I was telling Survivor to change the perk to avoid. Always use the same perk as Survivor. I try and use new perks. Same. Basic and Unbreakable is fine. I don't think crawl speed was necessary. Exactly. And this is literally like what I think I said it in this video. Maybe not. I don't remember. I don't think we need baseline tenacity. I think you should be able to just pick yourself up if you've been on the ground for like 90 seconds. That's about it. Maybe even 2 minutes, like whatever. Because then if you do it, if you do it to the point where you've been on the ground for like 2 minutes, you can really only use it once, because I think you bleed out at 4. I think. Maybe it's like 4.5 or 5. I don't know. But either way.
The gen. Pretty much. Healing somebody on the gen, healing somebody on the gen. Pretty much. That's the whole game. We've seen this many times. So I don't obviously know much about this creator, but I have to say that it doesn't seem as if they understand why these things happen.
Brother, I think the fact that when I was talking about why I was happy about these changes for solo queue and for tunneling at 5 gens and slugging, like not for pressure, but just to be, you know, a weirdo, I think that implies that I know why people use these tactics. If I am creating a different environment or a specific like instance of these things happening, then I am clearly saying them happening not in these situations, like tunneling somebody at 2 gens, which I wouldn't call tunneling. I think it's fine. I think it's for pressure. So already, again, I'm getting triggered. I'm crashing out. This is my problem when, and maybe I shouldn't watch these videos. I don't know. But I feel like I'd be better off, like, I don't know if I want to call this a formal invite, but I'd be willing to sit down and talk to this person. It wouldn't even have to be a debate, but more of a discussion, because I don't see how they see their like inconsistency here. I don't know why slugging and tunneling exists, yet I created a specific instance or scenario that is separate from all other tunneling and slugging as to like the instances that I don't like. Clearly, I understand there's variety, there's degree, and I don't... Am I dumb? As a killer man, I don't understand those tactics. I mean, it doesn't make me angry, but it's just like, I don't know if this person... I'm going to be honest. I feel like they're a little bit ignorant. I feel like so far, 5 minutes into a 35-minute, 6 minutes in, I feel like they're purposely missing the forest through the trees. I think they're purposely making my opinion something that it isn't. Because I don't believe that they missed it. I believe that they're doing this for like views. They have to, right? Maybe I live in a completely different world than everyone else, and my brain just works wrong. I don't know. Doing it when you have 2 or 1 gens is to give pressure, but doing it when 5 gen is still standing is insane. Right, and I bet you some people will make, I hope they don't make this argument, but if somebody wants to say, oh, well, they're tunneling somebody out because they're playing a mid-tier killer, and that's why they're tunneling them out at 5 gens, because, like, gen speeds would go too fast. Not always, not every game. I mean, like, Swifts aren't even the majority of the games that exist. Like, well, 4-mans, anyway. Like, I'm pretty sure Behavior said, like, the statistical biggest group of players is solo queue. And then it's like 2-mans or 3-mans, maybe like 2-mans, and then like 4-person Swifts are the least statistical played, like, you know what I'm trying to say. He likes to rage bait. I mean, I looked at some, bro, every single time you just have to look at like their thumbnails and you can usually tell if the majority of their content is rage bait. I haven't really looked at it, but
now I do understand that there have been bad apples in the bunch, but you cannot go around and just like blanket statement the whole thing.
I didn't blanket statement the whole thing. Hence why I said solo queue, tunneling at 5 gens, slugging for no reason other than to be weird. There's no blanket.
Because you need to be very specific with how you frame this, because it's only adding to the narrative that there's some kind of morality for...
Was I not specific? What?
For using strategies, but it's like, this is a part of the game.
These baseline changes, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of combat that, and then they can make balancing changes around that depending on how games start to play out. So that's slugging. As far as tunneling goes, this is a big one. This is huge. I'm going to go over these like very, very, you know, literally line by line, because these are going to be huge changes. When a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. When they're unhooked, there is no notification. So killer, via their UI and via like certain indications like audio in the game, are going to have less knowledge on what's happening at the hook, essentially. Unhooked survivors gain the following effect for limited time: haste, endurance, and elusive. So that's new. No collision with other players, both killer and survivor. So killers cannot body block survivors now when they're running up from the stairs. Immunity to killer instinct, and you get to see the killers. It could be rage bait. Maybe they're winning. That's huge. These are so many different things that they are doing to kind of protect a survivor that is immediately getting unhooked. They're lost when any survivor.
And I do want to respond and say that's the problem. You know, a lot of these survivors are completely capable of improving at their game, right? Improving.
If survivors can improve, so can killers. Killers don't always need to tunnel at 5 gens to win. This is a pretty big point. Okay, you could use a blanket. And I'm pretty sure in this video, he does not reference at once killers improving or improving upon their mistakes. This is one of the biggest issues that I have in the DBD community, that when a topic like killer and survivor ever comes up, it's always survivors need to play better and get better. Meanwhile, killers almost never admit to making mistakes during a match. This is a common thing that I have heard many content creators reference for years. This is something you will see a lot of competent people with tens of thousands of hours under their belt that play both sides say. They will say something akin to this: not every match is against you. Not every like survivor group is as swift. They're not necessarily bullying you, blah, 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 blah. It's not necessarily the game imbalance, or the game isn't really like, gamer, you sat here and played a whole match and bitched 24/7 about the match, and you didn't even call out one mistake you made. This is a common thing that happens all the time. For some reason, hey, you can hold me to this. Chat, do I on stream constantly say when I do things wrong? Do I constantly say, oh, I kind of greeted this and I shouldn't have? Oh, I didn't account for somebody's ping. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done this. Like, I almost every single time I go down will usually say, hey, this is why I went down. And guess what? I bet you more than 50% of it, well, most of it's probably ping related because I'm a whiny entitled survivor. But I call out my mistakes all the time. And also when Kage does something wrong, true. He has the game uninstalled. Remember when the killers used to complain about the 360 exploit? Bro, I can't take like 90% of the complaints in this game from either side serious. Should have gifted 100 subs. Huh? That's all I read. Literally, that's my issue, is for some reason, I don't know why it is. And maybe it's because like killer players have to focus more on the game because they always have to be 100% like uptime active. And it is the more pressured role to play most of the time, because your uptime should be 100%, whereas Survivor does have a little bit of like downtime. But I promise you, like, I guess we'll see in this video if he talks about Killer's mistakes and improving. Because why is it always that survivors need to improve and play better? And it's never like killers need to improve at chase and mind games. And it's just like, no, slugging and tunneling is a tool they can use whenever it's their game. They pay the. It's like, okay, so okay, sure, all right. So you don't have to improve at mechanics or mind games or using a killer power. Like it's no, you're good. You always play 100% to your A game. Clearly, those are exempt because there's one guy and 4 people. That's what it feels like.
At their looping ability and trying to focus on the goal of wasting the killer's time as much as they can. Now, when you're giving the amount of bonuses that we're getting that are already stacked onto bonuses that they already have, such as off the record, decisive strike, dead hard, delivering.
What do you mean bonuses? Those are perks. Those aren't bonuses. These are like baseline things. Those aren't. You're listing perks.
Borrow time, the list goes on. They're being rewarded for playing badly in their game, right? Improving at their looping ability and trying to focus on the goal of wasting the killer's time as much as they can. Now, when you're giving the amount of bonuses that we're getting that are already stacked onto bonuses that they already have, such
perks, not bonuses. Perks. 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 They aren't stacking bonuses. Those are perks. Like what am I supposed to say? Like, okay, so then that means when killers get like baseline barbecue and more gen regression for like hooking unique survivors on a kick or whatever, like that's stacking bonuses on bonuses. So they did it to both sides. Who cares? Like I'm
such as off the record, decisive strike, dead hard, deliverance, borrow time.
What's the lore? So some guy sent, we'll look at the comments a little bit later, but somebody sent me a Discord DM asking if they could talk about my video on the patch notes, and they were just wildly killer biased and kind of followed the same sort of script that a lot of people do when they start talking about complaining about survivors and Swifts. And then they said somebody made a video debunking me, hence why we're here.
The list goes on. They're being rewarded for playing badly, and that's mainly the focus I'm trying to point out with a discussion like this, is because there's already a lot of perks that survivors have that are very passive, don't require you to really put in a lot of input when it comes down to getting into.
So does Killer Gamer. Deadlock, barbecue, hook pop. Wow, you got to go to a specific scourge hook. Crazy knockout. The person's just on the, like, every side has passive perks. Literally, like, and this is no offense to Spook and Jukes, but literally the dude used to play face camping Bubba with passive perks like corrupt intervention and hook pop and deadlock, and like would just sit there at the hook while his perks did stuff. Every side has every side has a shitload of perks that don't require skill or input to really use. That welcome to DBD. Welcome to DBD. Welcome to DBD. Welcome to DBD, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Welcome to DBD, bro. Both sides can be played with their brain off. Passive perks. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, that's DBD. Elmo did that shit back in the day. And now people know it. It's meta. People understand.
Benefits like Vigil and Deja Vu are 2 examples I can think of automatically. They just give you the bonus without any sort of requirement. You don't really.
Like, but also, what do you want Survivor to do? Like, the game like Survivor can't be aggressive. I don't know what you expect survivors to. You want them to get like an unhook to get deja vu value? Okay, sure. I don't even care about half those perks.
Really need to heal anyone or be in chase for any duration of time. It's just you spawn in and it's always active no matter what. You can just have it and it gives you free benefits. You know, when you compare that to killer perks, a lot of them are required to first get it down, which requires already 2 hits in most cases.
There it is. There it is. It requires you to do your job. Crazy, dude. That's crazy, man. It requires you to hit survivors and down them. Why do people act like downing a survivor is the hardest thing in DBD? Like, hold on. Here's a crazy concept. Okay? Because I guess nobody's ever really talked about this or said this. Killer is the only role that can physically injure, incapacitate, and kill the other side. So it kind of makes sense that the majority of their perks probably wouldn't be passive, right? We, as like a survivor, are meant to survive. We cannot physically attack and accost. I'm not talking about head on and DS. Like, we physically can't kill the killer, right? So chances are our perks are going to be more passive and protective and survival biased. Welcome to DBD. Welcome to DBD. No, but Kage, Starstruck is an exposed perk that requires you to hit a survivor twice and pick them up and then walk. The roles are different, okay? The passiveness is going to be different. Yes, Killer doesn't have as many passive perks, and Survivor does. You want Survivor... Okay, you want Survivors to do something... Maybe people do want Survivors to do something to activate every one of their perks, so then that way they aren't doing gens. Because, like, here's the thing, right? And I don't remember if this person says this in this video, but people always say, I think he does. He says something about how, well, maybe your survivors aren't doing gens. Like, they're probably not on generators. It's like, can you imagine DBD if you wanted every survivor to do something to use and have every perk? In order to even activate Sprint Burst, you must cleanse a totem and open a chest. Like, we're going to have even less survivors on gens. Like, what do you... You have to make up your mind on what you want.
And you have to pick them up and then put them on a specific hook, or you have to go to a specific gen after doing those couple of things. Really does make the difference comparing the different killers. And that in itself is the problem. Now, some can say, oh, well, Lethal Pursuer exists, you spawn in and have it. But a lot of the time, if you don't bring an aura perk, it won't even benefit that either. You know, there are some perks on...
You just listed a passive perk and then immediately shunned it. Oh, yeah, Lethal Pursuer, but then it's, you know, like, if you don't have anything else, then it's not even worth it. Like, you can't list... Like, bro, you're creating your own op. Reverse would be so OP if it was a button activated. That is true.
That are passive, but I really do not think that they're that powerful. Like, having an aura of the early game really can just be kind of hit or miss. You can easily have it, or you can just go ahead and use your predisposed knowledge. You play the game enough to understand where they spawn at, or whatever have you. That's kind of like a hit or miss. Another example is like Corrupt, but if you get it down fast, it's gone immediately. So these...
Okay, so he's listing a bunch of passive perks and how... So again, go back to a little bit before. Killers always want to craft a specific scenario where they aren't getting a benefit or they're losing, and they always want to craft a scenario where every survivor team they're playing against is SEAL Team 6, and they just know how to loop everything and have like visual knowledge of the killer every single time. Okay, what are some passive survivor perks, chat? Listed Deja Vu. What if, like, all the generators you see that you can work on, what if the killer just sits near them because they also identify that it's like a 3-gen? Then like you're not really getting anything. What's another passive perk? Bond. Okay. I mean, most people will probably say if you're running Bond, it's probably a waste of a perk slot because it's not benefiting your generator progress. What's some other passive survivor perks? Calm Spirit, like whatever, that perk's garbage. Half the passive perks for Survivor aren't even that great. Oh, maybe Kindred? Oh, Kindred, there you go. But what if your team was going to make great saves anyway and was always going to send one person and they just paid attention to the UI? Like, if you pay attention to the UI and you have a brain, Kindred isn't really that insane. Oh, no! Like, this is so crazy. It's almost like the passive I hate this conversation.
These are things that just immediately deactivate for whatever input that they have received. Like, or somebody plot twists, that'll just deactivate Corrupt Intervention, for example. So I've heard people say, oh, well, Enduring and Brutal Strength exist, or something like that. But even then, those things are not going to create a gigantic difference in the match. They're only saving about a meter of distance here and there.
I don't know where people come up with these specific numbers about a meter of distance. I see killers, maybe not like I think a chase build on Legion is one of like the strongest things. I know this is like a hyper-specific example, but like on the right killer with the right playstyle, since Legion kind of gets his first hits and injuries for free, when you have a chase build like Spirit Fury and Enduring, I mean, you can go through pallets insanely fast, like insanely fast. And those are essentially passive perks. Like, you don't do anything. You just hold W through a pallet. That's kind of your job anyway, right? I mean, yes, you have to kick a pallet. Good job. I think you were going to kick the God pallet either way.
With good pathing, people that understand how to loop, people that understand how to use their perks, especially with exhaustion perks, they're going to be completely fine. I don't think that Enduring or Brutal Strength is going to like win you the game by any means, unless you're specifically playing the S tiers, which in general can use whatever perks they want to use. So, going back to the point.
No, like some lower tier killers actually benefit from that. Like, you run 1 or 2 slow and some chase perks. Like, a good example is like Bamboozle, right? You don't really have to do anything for Bamboozle. You go up to window, you vault it, and you shut down a loop. That is one of the most brain dead things in existence. And like, it's usually commonly used on weaker-ish killers who like don't have mobility or insane chase, because then they can just ignore the window. I mean, like, that's a passive perk. It's not like you're using intellect to vault a window.
The main problem is we're giving survivors even more buffs and even more buffs to try to combat issues that don't exist. Like,
issues that don't exist. Gamer, why do you think if this issue didn't exist, that behavior would... You think every survivor is just lying? Do you think people are just saying, oh my god, I got tunneled out at 5 gens, and they got tunneled out at like 1. Bro, I don't even know if I want to make this list anymore. This list is so long. I'm never gonna have a conversation with this person because nobody would ever honestly debate me or have a conversation with me. No one can actually back up their opinions. I swear to you. I mean, this person has so many inconsistencies in their logic, and it's hurting my brain. Slugging and tunneling early or for no reason. I should probably put commas around that, or parentheses quotes, but commas. Hello. Does exist. Why do you think they would create this patch if it didn't exist? He's not even trying to be unbiased. Bro, no killer player that makes videos like this or holds these takes ever is. They only exist in their own bubble. You're gonna hop on DVD, deep breaths, slip. You will make it through the video. Thanks, homie. I appreciate that. We'll get through it here. I gotta go.
People who are experienced. People utilizing strategies.
I don't think he will.
Are trying to win their own game. The same way that a survivor is trying to win their game. And that's just how it works. That's how team games work. You can't just point at every person playing the way that you don't want them to play and just make it seem like they're just toxic for doing that. That's just not how.
No, I mean, I'm not. Some people might, but I'm not.
It works. Because on the same side of the coin, I could also bring up a whole entire.
I personally don't think tunneling and slugging, even aggressively, is toxic. My view on toxicity and what that term means is completely different than what most people use.
I disagree with. But at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here complaining about it. I'm sitting here complaining about the changes that behavior is trying to predispose, because people ultimately are going to play however they want.
If the killer sacrifices the survivor they just hooked, generators cannot be regressed or blocked. I think they're gonna have to make tweaks to this one. I'm going to be honest, because there are going to be situations kind of, you know, where maybe they're the only survivor you can find. Maybe you've got, because like, what if you've essentially two hooked everyone, and then the survivor you are killing, because everyone is death hook, just happens to be the one you most recently hooked. So then you can no longer use your slowdown. I don't know about that one. They're gonna probably need to make changes or just remove this. I don't know if this needs to be in the game. This is awesome. This is all I really want. I love the slugging changes, and I want this. I want to make sure that a killer can't just go into a game with like a bunch of slowdown, find one survivor, tunnel them out, only get like 3 or 4 hooks. That guy's dead. Everyone else pretty much hasn't been hooked or chased the entire game, and now it's a 3v1 with like 4 gens left, and the killer has access to all their slowdown. This will put a complete halt to that. I think that is wonderful. I think
that Siptonic here isn't really understanding why this occurs. I think
here we go again, brother. Let's just watch it.
There might be some kind of like, maybe they're unaware of how that happens. And just to add on to the fact that everybody agrees, at least, that both of these changes, not just the one, not just.
I also want it changed to like 4 hooks. I literally said, I want some of this changed and to not be as penalizing for the killer. I literally said that.
The one that says last hook or regressor block, but both is a bit too overtuned. It's a bit too much. Because one, it doesn't take into account.
Wait, you're not going to elaborate? Bro, I already went over this. I know why people tunnel and slug, but what you are not addressing is people doing it aggressively early. Like, you're just putting all tunneling and slugging under like an umbrella. I'm literally creating a different box for different degrees of it, and I want to stop the more aggressive, boring one. Whether they're being intentionally or unintentionally, they aren't thinking about the topic. They're just thinking of excuses to defend their viewpoint. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
There's characters that can kill with their abilities, like Sadako, especially like the number
one rage baiting. I don't know, bro. At this point, I don't know. I don't even care, man. Zoomers be rage baiting. I'm a fucking old man. I don't know. Maybe, possibly.
Comes to mind. Myers with the rework doesn't do that anymore. Pyramid Head, you could maybe argue that maybe could. Some people say Pig, but even though like the head trap kills are a bit rare, but it still isn't fun if it does somehow happen. The point being is that with these two things combined, it creates a really bad situation where low tiers are unable to keep up whatsoever. So they just get kicked in the stomach. They have absolutely no opportunity, even with their bonuses.
And that's an issue. That's an issue of killer imbalance, which I talked about before, which they would have to kind of address over time, slowly, or at the end of like making the baseline game better. IMO.
Necessarily going to be fully capable of utilizing these bonuses if they're really unable to get downs in the first place. And that has to do mainly with low tiers just being too weak to hold up into this current meta, this current day and age, where exhaustion perks and vigil exist alongside with the healing meta and the fact that most M1s have to do 2 hits to down. So with all that combined, obviously, it's like you're kind of forced into a situation where you're more incentivized to just pick the highest tier, because if you pick anybody low tier, you're just going to end up with a 5-minute game. Especially when you are playing against competent Swifts teams, just in general. You're going against more experienced players, you're just going to have a hard time because those characters are just not able to hold their own in any situation. So a lot of the time, those killers actually need to utilize strategies and utilize all the slowdown they can get in order to just be able to have a fighting chance. Because the highest tiers can use whatever per combinations they want. But when you go down to the C tiers and below, it's like, and maybe even some B tiers are completely pointless in this current day and age. That's the biggest problem. And that ties back into why people are running quad slowdown, because of the fact.
In what respect, though? Like, are you just talking about 4Ks? Are you just talking about 4Ks against Swifts? Like, guys, when we do open lobbies, we get destroyed all the time. Not every survivor group, solo queue or Swift, is trying to get out as fast as possible. Like, that's not every game. It's just not. It's just not every game, bro. Drum, thank you for gifting a sub to Dazzle. I have alerts turned off, but thank you. They thought before the Walking Dead chapter that game balance was in a good spot. Even so, the game balance is weird because in a way it sort of is balanced from like side to side, but the game is always going to be who wants to win more. And you're never really going to balance a game like that. There's too many variables now on both sides in terms of killer powers, perks, maps, that you're never going to fully balance it to where every game is like, oh my god, everyone has a chance. It's it's not possible. It's just whoever wants to win more. That's all it is. In terms of like bringing in, like if y'all have equal experience and it's like a 2 or 3 man Swift against a killer, like, well, did you bring a top tier killer with these amazing perks and these survivors, you know, are kind of whatever? Well, then you're probably going to win.
Like I've said, the objective is incredibly fast, incredibly easy. I've seen across the board at casual level, average level, high level, all the gens have been like at high level gen speed now, where everybody's gen rushing, everybody's got a gen build, or even if they don't, it seems as if they do. And
bro, like nobody, when I do my open Swift lobbies, see, like this is all. Maybe your MMR's high and you're playing against good survivors. I don't know, dude. I don't run gen builds. That's just boring to me. I want to play the game for the chase and the flashlight saves. And bro, I make these stupid builds that cause me to throw the game for content. I understand, like I'm a content creator, I'm a streamer, and I'm not like, I'm probably different than, but not everyone is trying to get a 4-man escape as easy as possible.
And it's across the board where everybody's experiencing it now. And in order to even have a normal span of a match, you need to bring your slowdowns. Because on average, you're taking 5 minutes to complete your game, because you can get your down efficiently. Like, you know, now I've obviously seen players that claim that the gens are too fast, even though the chase was.
You know what I want to say here? Because I've seen plenty of killers, like, I mean, you look at Dwykel, who, I mean, granted, he plays Hillbilly, which is a top-tier killer, but I mean, he's gone on streaks without running, like, any slowdown. His Deerstalker slugging streak was pretty up there. I know, slugging, nerfs, whatever. But maybe, you know, I'm going to go back to what he said. Maybe, bro, if you need 4 slowdown or 3 slowdown, maybe it's a skill issue. Maybe you need to improve. Maybe you need to identify where survivors are easier and faster. Maybe you need to get your downs quicker. Maybe you need to become better at mind gaming and hiding your stain. I don't know, man. Maybe it's a skill issue.
It's like a full 60 seconds long. That's also been the case, but we're talking, like, if we're speaking on, if you're experienced enough, you have enough efficiency where the gens are getting, like, you're getting your down within a 10 to 15 second window, and you're losing 2 to 3 gens at once.
If you get it down in 10 to 15 seconds, you are not losing 2 to 3 gens. You're not. Now, if you meandered around the map and you couldn't find a survivor for 30 seconds, and then it took you like 20 or 30 seconds, bro, if you immediately find a survivor as soon as the game starts and it only takes you 15 seconds to down them, you cannot mathematically lose a generator. What are we talking about? Especially not 2 or 3. What are we fucking talking about? What are we talking about? There needs to be more context. What sort of wicked scenario are you crafting? Old BNP is now in the game?
That's not going to feel good, right? That's not going to feel great. And then the next match, you're like, well, I can't bring what I want. I can't use any fun build, any meme build. I can't even use Doctor. I can't use this. I can't use that. I'm going to have to pick Kaneki now. I'm going to have to pick, you know, Nurse. I'm going to have to pick these characters because they're just not going to have fun hearing 3 gens go off because it took them, what, 2 extra seconds to get it down? So it's just, so the main problem here is obviously we're trying to, like, sort of really shove in these changes that are tone deaf, completely unaware of how the game functions. And it's creating this really terrible situation where, like it doesn't take into account context or how anything works. Now, obviously, I've heard many things about solo queue. They just say, like, I know a lot of people like to claim it's the hardest thing in the game. And ultimately, I just think that it's like partially a non-point because obviously you can team up if you just decide to get people to play the game with you. I mean, that can easily be solved. Like, and ultimately, the issue with solo queue is not the game balancing, but your teammates most likely, which I think is a point that isn't really discussed much. I think that a lot of it gets pushed onto the killer and they like to claim it's the killer's fault. But I think that takes away from the fact that your teammates are.
I don't want to back that up. That can easily be solved. Yeah, just get friends, Forehead. Just get friends. Just find friends. Just find friends to just get. Just don't be alone. Just play with people. Gamer, Excellent take. However, comma, this game is always going to have a lot of... Solo queue is fun in my opinion because it is harder, but solo queue is always going to be solo queue. You're always going to have solo queue survivors. Like, do you want every game to be like a 4-man coordinated Swift? I'm confused. Is this what, like, so do we just want DBD, like, do we want DBD to be competitive? I mean, do you just want 4-man groups? Like, why are we just disregarding solo queue? I'm confused. Just get good. Just get good, bro. If everyone was in a Swift, you wouldn't be... Exactly. Because if everyone was grouping up, they would say, oh, I play against... They already say it. They say, oh, I always play against Swifts. I mean, you remember the meta for the longest time, before crossplay, when people would, like, constantly check to see if everyone was partied up pre and post match. They'd be like, oh my god, I got to... like, oh my god, they must be a Swift. Then they go into Steam and they click all over and they're like, oh yeah, this friends is with this person, but this guy isn't friends with this person. Let me go check his... Oh, but he is friends with this... See, chat, it is a 4-man Swift. That's why I lost. When they literally had like a 3-minute chase, they refused to leave because the survivor just brought him to every god palette. Like, what? Like, dude, you don't want this, though. You don't want this. I know you don't want this.
Are probably just not experienced. And if they're not experienced, they're probably not going to be on the generators, which gives the killer way more time.
Oh, here we go.
That they would have had normally. And then that would have made it seem, oh man, the killer's so strong. And it's like, but maybe look at the HUD, you know? Like, who's on a gen while you're in chase? Or who's on a gen while you're on a gen? Probably no one. Like,
well, no, because now in your world, in order to, you know, to make it fair and balanced with our passive perks, I'm going to need to go scare 13 crows in order to activate my We'll Make It. And then I'm going to need to go spend 5 minutes in the basement in order to get my brand new part active on my toolbox. And then I'm going to have to back out, join a different lobby, play a killer game, get a 4K, go back into this game before I can even, I don't know, have baseline Iron Will. Like, dude, there's so much, like, like, you complain about this, but then you say, like, survivors should just, like, do this and, like, do gens. But the crash out is so hard that I can hear it with 1%. No, this triggers me because there's so much hypocrisy in this video. Like, it's like every 2 minutes I'm pausing.
Opening a chest, they're probably doing
every
something
minute.
Else. So you could say solo queue, but at the end of the day, let's take into account what does solo queue mean, right? So that is mainly what I want to get at. Now, this is why I say, like, I think solo queue might be more within the casuals, because I don't imagine you're going to win a lot of games in solo queue. So taking into account the casual level, I would have to say a lot of the time, it would be, you're probably going to have bad teammates. But if we're talking on average, when you're winning a lot more consistently, or even at the highest level where a lot of the Swifts are at, because they're going to keep going on win streaks, you're just going to see gens flying. And they're going to have to bring the highest tiers, you're going to have to bring in the strongest perks. And,
okay, I tried to make this argument with, like, True Talent a while ago. Shona, thank you for the raid. We're watching a video. Appreciate you, homie. Go follow my friend. We give her a shout out. If you want to compete at a high MMR and get 4Ks, yeah, you're not going to be able to use the weakest killers to do so consistently. Crazy concept. That means that behavior has to, like, squish the killers in terms of power. That's not my problem, bro. I could make the same argument. If I want to compete at a high MMR and escape a lot of my survivor games, I'm probably going to need to bring good perks and squad up. But guess what? I don't care. I don't care about escaping. That is not my end goal. If it is your end goal to be a top MMR competitive gamer, guess what everyone does on every other game? They go meta. That's why it's the meta. Okay, this is my like kind of like my number one entitlement issue. Why should killers be allowed to compete at the highest level with every killer? Why? Tell me why. Or better question, why can't lower tier killers exist? Why does every, like, there's 40 killers now or something, right? Why does every killer need to be amazing and able to deal with Swifts? He wants to 4K as a perkless hag. Why? Like, why? Why? Tell me why. Why? And I've never heard this argument come from someone. I've never heard to be fair, I don't think I've ever proposed this to somebody. Like, no one will debate me, most likely. Why does every killer need to be able to 4K easily? Why does every killer need to be able to compete with a Swift? Why? Why can't there be killers that are just weaker? Why do killers always feel entitled to a 4K? Bro, if the game was the way you wanted it, your queue times would be an hour because no one would play Survivor. Killer queue times are already pretty long. Wonder why? Maybe because survivors sometimes have a miserable experience. And it's hard to retain brand new players playing Survivor because they get to play 2 minutes of a game and most of that is on hook. I don't know. Just a thought.
Obviously, to add on to the fact that this is happening, we're also getting a bunch of gen nerfs, gen slowdown nerfs as well with this patch. So a lot of people are at a bit of an uproar right now because it's a bit unfair. It doesn't, like, there hasn't been any substantial buffs for the low tiers. These bonuses are not applicable to most of the low tiers anyway.
I mean, realistically, the only slowdown change that I really care about is DMS. I think that perk is the only one that needed to be changed. I didn't even think they needed to mess with anything else, to be honest. Like, just nerf DMS. 50 seconds is crazy. I just want to queue up to die in a PvP game.
Haste is not really that beneficial.
Haste isn't beneficial. Getting into a chase right away isn't that beneficial, chat.
The effect doesn't necessarily matter, especially when there is not much map traversal.
But there tells you which direction to go, and then you use your game sense. Bro, how are we just gonna disregard a small haste in mini barbecue? I played on the PTB, and killers, because I normally wouldn't get hooked right away, found me quite often, and were in chase probably sooner than they would be because they saw me. So we're just going to say none of the stuff that they're giving the killers for some of these proposed changes are good at all. Got it. Cool.
And the bonus damage is kind of negligible, I would say. But even with the benefits in play, right? At least aside from my opinion on what the benefits are, at the end of the day, the new effects to de-incentivize are the biggest problem with these changes. That is mainly what I want to point out. And obviously the slugging thing as well. The slugging discussion is a whole other can of worms, but ultimately, just to break it down, it works the same way. I've actually spoken about this in the JC Glitchmaster video. It's in order to create pressure in the match. That's why people slug in the first place. Now, do people decide to take that to the extreme? Like I've said, that happens, but on average, when people are trying to slug somebody, they're most likely trying to buy time so they can get somebody off of a gen to go help their teammate.
So he even admits that people do it to the extreme, which is why I want countermeasures in place. So that when they do it to the extreme, the survivors have an out. I was always even a fan if survivors could just, if they've been on the ground for 2 minutes, abandon match and they're replaced with a bot. I don't think you should, like, I don't think somebody should have to stay in the game and bleed out on the floor. You know what's crazy? This person agrees with me. Like, the extreme happens, which is why I'm happy for some of these changes. And again, I even say to my video, I don't want the changes as is. I want adjustments. I even said one of these things isn't really that fair for killer.
Heal while they're chasing somebody else, have 3 people occupied to buy more time in order for the game to go a little slower, ultimately.
This is needed for, like, you know, just normal pub matches. I think it's great. You know, obviously we're going to see tweaks to all this. This is just reminder, this is going to be a public test build, so a lot of this stuff probably won't go live, or at least live as is. No secret that tunneling can be seen as an efficient way to play killer, yeah, which can be true. It's also true that the results of this can be frustrating for survivors, primarily only when tunneling happens, and like as the game starts, right? If the killer sets his eyes on the first survivor he hooks at 5 gens, and he will ignore everyone else and tunnel them. Like, I say this all the time, as soon as the game is put into a 3v1, if you have 3 gens left to repair a survivor, it feels so bad. It feels like you are fighting a battle that isn't even uphill. You just can't even, like, you can't surmount that sort of pressure. So if he tells me again, I don't know why slugging and tunneling exists, I'm going to crash out.
So I want to touch on that point. It may feel bad, but at the end of the day, there's a couple things I want to point out. One, it works the same way for killer.
But like literally, Sai, his title should have been Siptonic is wrong, but I agree with his specific points that he's citing.
Seeing 3 gens pop at once, it's the same thing. You just feel powerless. You're like,
dude, that happens probably 1 in every 40 games that I play as Survivor, where 3 gens go for 1 chase. And guess what? I'm gonna use his thing again. Just get better at killer. Down the Survivor faster. Don't commit to a chase that lasts 2 minutes. If you start the game and your first chase takes long enough to where 3 gens go, then you probably played bad.
Like, well, I did the best I could, and now the game's pretty much halfway over by the time I even got 1 hook or 2 or.
And how many games, guys,
3
have we seen?
3.
Have we played where we get a bunch of gens done, the killer has like 1 or 2 hooks, and then they end up coming back. Like, sometimes their slowdown brings them back, or like 1 survivor mistake, and then all of a sudden it's like they get the 4K. I mean, yeah, there are times where you lose 3 generators or 2 gens for a chase, and you just can't come back from that. But there are times where you do lose a lot of generators right away, and you have all your backup slowdown, or you're able to come back. Comebacks are fun in this game. It's kind of what makes DBD enjoyable. Don't worry about your generators.
3 different survivors, right? That's number 1. 2, the point kind of has to focus on the survivor player. The survivor probably could get tunneled, sure. But we have to take into account what is the skill level of the survivor themselves, because a lot of the time, even including myself,
what is the skill level of the killer?
when I have played survivor in the past, being chased, being tunneled, to me was the most fun.
Okay, I enjoy it. I don't care about getting tunneled. Slugging can be a little bit boring, but I don't care about getting tunneled. It's fine. Like, I will take chase. There usually only times I don't like getting tunneled is when my teammates play incorrectly, and that's my teammates' issue. Or if my teammates body block me. Don't ask me about that. I have PTSD recently, if he knows. But I don't care.
Because I don't really care for sitting on the gen all the time. I didn't really care for healing all the time. I thought it was just like so much like downtime.
Yeah, it's boring.
I'd rather be the focus and actually like being chased, because that to me was the most fun. Now I can't speak for other.
Exactly. Not everyone is us. Not everyone wants to get chased 24/7.
Survivor players, I don't know if survivors like enjoy just the downtime of like seeing a bar fill up or something. I don't know. I don't really know what.
I will tell you, since you clearly don't know. Not everyone is us. Some people like to just do gens and chill and vibe. Some people like to, in a Swift, just chit chat with their friends. Sometimes people just like to cause mayhem and like stun the killer, take a hit for their teammate, unhook, Sabo, whatever. Some people just like to be altruistic. Some people care more about the escape. Some people just suck at chase. Yeah, Wawa likes to watch the bar fill up. Like, try putting yourself in other people's shoes, maybe.
That's about. But for me personally, I enjoy the chase aspect when I have played that side before, and to me, that I found to be fun. Now, I understand that if the player is just like inexperienced and just getting down, they are going to have to take that as a learning experience for themselves to actually improve. You know what I mean? Because
if the killer loses 3 gens for 1 chase, you probably should take that as a learning experience and get better at the game.
It's all about shifting the mindset into how much time can I buy my team and how much can I learn from my chase so that I can improve the next time. Because at the end of the day, that's what surviving should be, if you ask me. Like, it's literally the name, it's surviving. You know what I mean? It's not called the thrivers, it's called the survivors. Like, you're trying to survive something. Like, there's like a toughest situation, but you made it out, you survived. Like, that's literally within the term. So, obviously, once again, like, even a situation that is being described, it is very contextual. Because if it's a blight with quad slowdown and it's like solo queue with all a bunch of low skilled players, of course it's gonna suck. But at the end of the day, hey, you move on to your next game quick. You just try to find a new one and move on with your day. Because
okay, yeah, and if you're playing a mid-tier killer or you got outskilled and the survivors gen rush you, hey, you move on, you go to your next game, right? Why can we not take the same things you are saying for Survivor and apply it to yourself or the killer role? Why is the onus always on Survivor? People that's on YouTube, can you please put a Bubba tantrum bar? No. As I started playing killer more, I've stopped bitching about tunneling and slugging. They have their time to shine. Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't have an issue with it as it is. I have an issue when it's like used aggressively as your playstyle. As soon as the game starts. That's it. Like, if you're running a slugging twins build and you never like, if your intention is just to bleed people out, give us the option to just go next. I don't want to waste 4 minutes on the ground. I want to, like, do something. I want to interact with the killer, not bleed out on the ground. What up, Ashley?
At the end of the day, it's gonna work the same way for killer too. Like, if they're walking around and they're trying to just have a casual game and they're hearing boom, 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 3 gens just jump at once, you're just like, what the heck? Like I just got like 2 chases in. What the heck, man? How are we almost done with the game? Or hey, I'm trying to learn how to play Hillbilly, or I'm trying to learn how to play Springtrap, or I'm trying to learn how to play Huntress, and I'm struggling, and then I have to
play against bots.
All this other stuff happening, and then they have to back at the gate too, and then it doesn't feel good on either end. But the thing is, I just don't think that a good majority of the survivors...
They have to bag at the exit gate? Oh, so we're triggered about it now. Bro, I don't... Like, killers can hump me, WS me, whatever. It's... Just ignore the BM in the game. It's always going to exist. Like, if it triggers you that people are BMing you, like, you're playing the wrong game, man. You're playing the wrong game. Really seems like 3 gens getting popped at once seems to be this guy's norm. Yeah, I don't know if he has PTSD. I mean, he might play lower tier. Like if he plays Ghostface, it probably happens quite a bit. You spend a lot of your time stalking. He probably has to win a lot of his games off snowballing. But I think, like, with the way the game is, that's just how it is. You're gonna dip? Sounds good, homie.
Community really cares for, the killer, or even the killer experience, or what they find fun, or even how they experience the game at all. So
no, I do care.
I
I actually do feel bad sometimes when the killer gets gen rushed. Because like sometimes I'm sitting here talking to chat, yapping, doing gens, and then all of a sudden the game's over, and the killer has like one hook. Even though they've taken so many bad chases and they suck at every mind game, I still kind of be like, that kind of sucks. Jay, I know you don't.
Like a big disconnect there. And
I do have some empathy.
Hopefully there will be some Survivor players that will at least give Killer a chance to kind of understand what it's like having to play that side.
Yeah.
It ain't a walk through the garden by any means. It's not a cup of tea at all.
Changes. I think that's great. I know a lot of people have been talking about this. I've seen it on Twitter. People are like, oh my god, they're turning DBD into a mobile game. They're protecting survivors. Well, think about it like this, right? Let's balance the game that we can keep as many people in the trial as long as possible, as opposed to having one person. Okay, I will admit I kind of worded this weird. I didn't necessarily mean like as long as possible, but I guess if I were to clarify, like let's keep somebody from dying within the first 2 minutes, so they get a chance to learn and play the game. Thrown out of the game,
kind of more what I
which
meant.
usually is miserable for like all the survivors. And
Well, I have to disagree, because that completely goes against what being a killer is. Like, you know what I mean? Like the killer is trying to kill, so by them not dying.
okay, you know what's funny though? Okay, so I do have a counter. I do got a counterpoint to this, and it is kind of like meh. You know what's funny? Yes, the killer's trying to kill. That is your role. I am perfectly okay with that. But he also said something about like Survivor and what they're meant to do. What a lot of people don't realize, and I learned about this a long time ago, the entity actually wants the killer to inflict as much suffering and pain on the survivors and torture them, right? So let's take scenario 1 where you tunnel a survivor out and the other survivors play smart and do the gens and leave, and you only really interacted, hit, and tunneled one survivor. Whereas maybe you could have like had different or better results, but inflicted more suffering and more torture onto more victims. I mean, to me, when a killer goes and just focuses one person out, they're not really playing to like the lore and the accuracy of why DVD and was created and what the entity is trying to do. I know that's like a really weird thing, but when anyone tries to say, oh, killer is meant to kill and survivor is meant to survive, well, I mean, technically, by the lore of the game and like how the game was created, it technically not. Like, it's not just about killing; it's about inflicting suffering and pain. But random point. I don't know. And I can gen rush and survive. I can hide all game for hatch. You can, yeah. General rule in shooters is if you want to practice a character, you don't expect to win. Exactly. That's a great point.
Is literally going against what the killer is. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I have to say.
I don't think he plays a lot of solo queue. And if they do, they might play like one game every now and then. If I had to guess.
That's just kind of ridiculous. I have to say. Like, no disrespect, of course, but like that just sounds a bit ridiculous. Because trying to keep people in the match means that they're going to be able to just apply pressure from just existing. If there's 4 people around, they can take body blocks, they can heal each other, they can rush the gens out, they can apply their items like toolboxes and other things like that. They have multiple perks active, and mind you, each survivor brings 4 perks, which all can provide insane amounts of bonuses. So by removing a player from the lobby, it will make it easier.
You bring that up because I saw people saying, how does this fit into the lore, the entity preventing deaths, to inflict suffering and pain? Like, the longer 5 people are in the game, the more like suffering, hits, and pain and torture is going to be caused. Lore accurate, like, these changes are kind of lore accurate. You keep people in the trial because like survivors die and they're respawned into the next trial. It just keeps repeating the process. You know?
Easier for a killer to actually have a fighting chance in comparison to having 4 people just actively running around and then using all their perks that can stack with each other and apply different effects, just making it even more difficult for the killer side to even enjoy it. So that just doesn't make any sense. No disrespect, of course, but that just sounds completely ridiculous. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. It's the equivalent of saying, well, survivors should be able to complete at least like 12 gens instead, and they should be able to get one shot and then take way less health states instead. You know, like they should really we should just have infinite expose, so they can take only one hit to go down, and there should be like only one pallet every like, you know, there should be one pallet every entire map. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I hate to say it. It just simply doesn't make any sense.
And then sometimes, yeah, obviously there are going to be situations right now, especially, where like there are just going to be weak links that are just going to happen to run into the killer's arms all the time. They aren't going to be that great at the game. I understand that.
But that's who we're talking about, Siptonic. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the players that are just
said my name right.
The game. Those are the people we're trying to cater to, and therefore it just will only make everybody else who is experienced be able to just take these changes and absolutely break the game. And there has been...
I don't see how they're going to break the game with these changes. People keep saying that. I don't understand where that's coming from. I don't understand how we're going to break the game with these changes, especially if you make the tweaks that I want them to make. Where, like, I know some people were talking about, like, weird situations where if, like, survivors die near the end of the game, then the killer can't use their... Like, they can probably fix all that. Like, all these things I think they can turn off, like, at will. Because they can adjust the effectiveness of some of this stuff for stronger killers, like the benefits that killers would get from like unique hooking, they can make some of that stuff weaker for the top tier killers. They can make adjustments to all this. But like the backbone, like the spine of a lot of these changes, I think is good. Like this elusive effect is actually pretty decent. And there's a caveat in here. What's funny is I was watching True react to this because he didn't even realize there's a caveat in here that says all these benefits that you get from the elusive status effect go away the minute you are fully healed. So like otherwise you can't touch a generator, you can't heal somebody, you can't touch a totem, etc., etc. Otherwise you'd lose elusive. But if you also decide to get healed, you lose it too. So they kind of did a good job with some of this. Funny enough, they just needed to make some tweaks and like remove base kit tenacity from being slugged. Maybe make it like 100 or 120 seconds of being on the ground. Maybe you're only able to pick yourself up once, you know, like little things like that.
There's been many examples. I mean, Quiet Kills has showed us this example in another video that he uploaded. All of us playing Killer have already discussed this extensively on how ridiculous it is. We've already tried to explain what the purpose of tunneling is, what the purpose of slugging is. So,
and again, not arguing with the purpose of tunneling and slugging. I don't know why you completely refuse to combat the one point I make, which is aggressive tunneling and slugging, and specifically early, and how it really, really makes solo queue miserable to play. I don't know why that, like, that's my whole stance.
We have evidence here, like we've already shown numerous times.
Here.
And I'm trying my best to explain it as well. You know, I'm really trying because
you're ignoring
sides, right? I've even like even playing the 2v8 lately. I've been forced to play Survivor for the queues to be quicker for pretty much. As much as I can understand, like experience is going to solve a vast majority of the problems. Now,
yeah, same. And getting better at a certain killer and learning how to chase survivors in mind game will solve your problem. Not relying on forced slowdown and Russian teching the baby Meg out will probably solve your problems too.
At the end of the day, like I've said, I just think there's like a disconnect and it's understanding on both ends. Like as somebody who has experienced both sides like extensively at this point, these changes shouldn't go through the way they are. Keep the bonuses, but just reduce the negatives, and you probably have a pretty.
Wait, keep the bonuses, reduce the negatives. Does he just agree with me then? Am I getting baited? Wait, what? What?
Disconnect, and then to understanding on both
ends. So you want
like,
some
as
of
somebody
these?
who has experienced both sides like extensively at this point, these changes shouldn't go through the way they are. Keep the bonuses, but just reduce the negatives, and you probably have a pretty deep.
The bonuses. Keep the bonuses. So like the baseline stuff for killer on unique hooks. Reduce the negatives, like 6 hooks to 4 hooks, and then, whatever. And then like your regression doesn't, okay. What's the bonuses for survivor? So you want the elusive, so you're fine with the elusive. I'm confused. Bro, what does this guy want? Keep the bonuses, reduce the negatives. What bonuses? Wait, is he fine with the PTB? Is he fine with the patch? Just with some adjust? So he does agree with me. Wait, is v.h.s.x wrong? If I'm wrong, is he wrong?
Decently, but like balanced thing out like game, because that's even when I pitched my own ideas for these changes. These were the exact changes I had in mind, except the whole lock the gens, don't regress them, don't block them after 6. I didn't say any of that part, but I had said it. I was like, why don't we have bonuses for killers to play the way they want us to play, so that we can focus on I like haste, I like having aura, I like having these things. Well, okay, I'm gonna try to focus on getting that because that's really strong.
Oh, so he wants the baseline mechanics for killer, but nothing for survivor. Got it. Got it. He wants a little bit of haste. He wants the aura readings, and then he can make a different build that's like all slowdown. Got it. Makes sense. Bro, what? Okay, so this is very much. I think I've come to an understanding. You just want easier games. Got it. Makes sense. Got it. Makes sense.
But there shouldn't be such a crazy penalty for it.
I'm lost.
That is where I disagree with this entire PTB. It's like, we shouldn't be having that. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're like, plus on top of the fact they already have buff survivor many times when we talk about the base kit reassurance as well.
Base kit reassurance? Are we talking about, wait, the base kit reassurance? There is no, what? Base kit are we talking about the anti-camp mechanic that only prevents face camping?
I've also talked about this buff survivor many times when we talk about the base kit reassurance as well. I've also.
What the fuck is base kit reassurance, bro? Did I miss an update? Oh, I really gotta rack my brain. Bro, what? Doesn't even prevent camping. No, it prevents literally face camping. You can still proxy. The strongest form of camping that existed was always proxy camping. It only prevents face camping. Probably the hook increase. The extra 10 seconds? Is that what they mean? What's up, Coffin? Is it really the extra 10 seconds we're complaining about? Buffing Survivor? Bro, wait till I pull up the patch notes for 6.1. Wait till I pull them up, because it's going to happen. You already know what I'm going to do. You already know.
Talked about this. That having an extra 10 seconds on hook completely removes a lot of the lethality that Killer already had as it is, especially with the low tiers at this point. And now we're doing it again. Now we have yet more changes, just making it even easier for survivors to just win every game.
Thank you.
And the thing is that these changes are not going to solve the solo queue problem. At the end of the day, solo queue is ultimately focused on not the killers, but the survivors. A lot of them are inexperienced. A lot of them either refuse to improve or they're trying to improve, but they just don't understand how. Even though there's like numerous upon numerous upon numerous guide videos on how to loop, Mr. Taterhead is like, I would say, the #1.
Problem is, like, a lot of people that play the game casually don't go searching guide videos. Like, we can, like, we're a unique breed because we make DBD our life to an extent. So we're aware of this material, but bro, I bet you a lot of people's YouTubes is filled with like Gooner shit and music videos and like Coco Melon. Like people aren't like tuned in like that to DBD. Like, how's that base reassurance? I have no idea, bro. There's always people talking about the end of DBD. Let's not forget. Oh, I know. People were doom and gloom like crazy. Oh, wait, where was I?
Yes, you can't stop the gens from regressing.
Where was I, Chad?
Let's say on Survivor, understand how, even though there's like numerous upon numerous guide videos on how to loop, Mr. Taterhead is like, I would say, the #1.
This is gonna be an hour video.
Killer and Survivor main that literally shows people how to loop on Survivor. Like he can completely, I would say, knocks it out of the park with the guides. And the information's out there.
You know what's funny? That's fine. How to loop on, that's great. Here's an issue. Knowing how to loop on Survivor works really well against the weaker killers who are M1 killers. But a simple guide video on how to loop and play tiles isn't going to do shit against Huntress, Nurse, Blight, Haneke, Spirit, probably the new killer, Springtrap, Nemesis, Wesker. Like, the thing with learning this game is there are so many killers and so many different powers that make standard looping obsolete. And guess what? A lot of people have gravitated towards those killers. Because when you push survivors away from standard looping, it's harder for them to loop well. Because you have to take into account that killer's power and maybe their add-ons. That's great that there's guide videos. They got a guide video on every killer. How long is it going to take a survivor to learn that? DBD is complex in that way. So, and yeah, also, when you're new to the game, looping's hard. If you try the same thing you do against a Myers, against like a Nurse, you're going to get your cheeks clapped. That's simple. My friend who's a new player and I've only gotten her to play 3 hours doesn't want to play anymore, really, because the killers we had just focused her out every game. That rarely ever happens, Dad. That rarely... It's a skill issue, you see. No, it's an issue that, like, there's nothing keeping low-hour players... Well, I mean, granted, you were probably swiffing, albeit. But, like, there's not really anything keeping people that are, like, 200 hours and less from playing against people that are, like, thousands of hours. You reacted this vid by saying, well, that was a complete waste of time and that was a dog... No, I'm not going to... I mean, it is kind of a... To be respectful, I'm not going to say it's a dog shit video. I think there were some really poor takes, and they purposely rage baited me and missed my points. But
and if players are just not like trying to learn how to play the game, then it's sort of like sink or swim in my opinion. But I also do think that they shouldn't be focusing on directly attacking the killers for this. I think they need to be focusing on the tutorial. They need to be...
There it is, the victim mentality. Killer isn't getting attacked, bro. Like, what? Can we never nerf killer anymore? Like, it just always has to be nerfs to survivor because we are the victim. So, like, nerfs make more sense.
Focusing
I'm so
on
confused.
things that can help teach new players what to do. To help show them, hey, here's like a couple of test runs on how to play. Here's what you should expect. But we don't have that, right? It's relying on the player base to teach the new players. And then the problem is that then it leads to situations like these where magically tunneling and slugging is a problem. When in reality, it's just lack of experience. Because when you see average to highest MMRs and stuff like that, these people are not struggling. Like, it's if anything, like the survivors that thrive. So that's really taken into account.
The killer's getting a... I think this person just wants DBD balanced around high MMR. That's what it sounds like. It's another one of those, like, I play in high MMR. I'm a high MMR gamer. We need to balance around us and screw new players. They need to, like, fend for themselves and learn how to play. It's a skill issue. Like, I'm sorry I care about a new player's experience and you don't. I mean, that's fine, bro. Nobody should care about a new player's experience. And then DBD's never going to get new players. Like, that's just how it is. Like, if you have people coming in and they get focused out their first, like, 2 games or 2 of their 4 games and they don't know what's happening and they get bored and they don't like it. Tough titty, bro. Tough titty, dude. That's crazy. Sucks to suck. This game is so, like, it is expanded to a crazy degree. Having some baseline protections that are going to benefit more so new players. And then eventually, like, buffing lower tier killers and maybe looking at gen speeds. Like, that's the way to go. If you don't see it, that's, I don't know, skill issue. Benefit for chasing other or hooking other unique survivors, it should be fine, right? Like, if you were doing well, as a lot of people are like, oh my god, you're punishing killer for doing well. That's okay, but with some of these changes, they're not going to punish you for doing well. They are going to reward you for doing well by giving you, like, the baseline barbecue and, like, haste after hooking.
Well, no, Siptonic,
Yeah.
once again, that doesn't
No.
make sense. You know, no disrespect, of course, but no, that is incorrect. You're being punished for playing well. Let me try to contextualize this. Let's say, for example,
Oh, here comes a
let's say
specific
on
scenario.
Survivor, you get 3 gens done in under a minute at once.
Where's the killer?
And then
Where's the killer?
the game decides,
What is he
that's
doing?
too many gens at once. That's way too fast. The game just started. Let's block all the gens, and you can't, oh, even better. It'll be like the gens will constantly regress. You can't.
He's
you can't
obsessed
stop.
with his 3 gens popping at once. This has to be a daily occurrence. Like, I wonder if he wakes up from, like, a deep sleep in night, like, you know, like sweating, and gets those night sweats, just like hearing the generator pop sound. Before put meme Toby gonna cry.
Stop the gens from regressing. You can only progress them slightly. And then every time you do it 1 gen, then it just blocks all the gens, and you can't work on the gens anymore.
You know,
And then
dude,
you all-
I'm okay with that. I don't even care. Do something like that. If, bro, like, if behavior could somehow code like like an interactive sort of, like, in-game, not really AI, but like formula or algorithm where it's like, oh my god, the killer has 1 hook and they only have 2 gens. Let's block the generators or slow them down or something, or like illuminate where the survivors are. Go for it, dude. I don't care. That's fine. Do it both ways. I'm chill with that. Oh, hey, the killer has 4 hooks, not a single gen is done, and they're chasing somebody who's death hook. All of a sudden, like, the generator just gets done for free. Bro, I'm fine with, I don't care. Do shit. Like, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. Do it. I don't have an issue with
just
it.
die because you
I don't
can't work
care.
on the gens. That's
care,
the
man.
equivalent.
Yeah,
of
that's fine.
These killer changes.
Not really, but okay.
You
I'm
basically
cool with it.
say, hey,
Do it.
Like, they're doing their objective too well. Like, they're getting.
Yeah, do it.
they're
Because
getting,
guess what?
like,
It fits DBD's lore. You slow the game down because survivors are pushing it too fast. Like, the entity slows it down. It gives the killer a greater chance and more time to cause pain, torture, anguish. Do it. I'm game.
multiple hooks, and somebody ends up just making a mistake and ends up getting killed again, whether it be from Trapper,
Yeah.
whether it be from Onryo, whether it
I'm
be
chill
from
with it.
any character that can get a kill, or maybe they just don't know how to take the head trap off a pig and they just die.
You know what would be, like, a great change? Actually, every killer based on, like, community agreement with, like, behavior, like, lower tier killers have longer gen speeds, and higher tier killers, the generators go faster. Problem solved. Honestly, that would solve everything. So you got your trapper and your pig. Generators are supposed to take 90 seconds, no skill checks or whatever by yourself. Make it take 100 or 110. Start at 100, see how it goes. And then top tier killers like Nurse and Blight and maybe Kaneki, Wesker, whatever those top tier killers are, like, you know, whatever. Maybe generators take 80 seconds, 75. Test it with that. Bro, I'm down for it. That'd be easy enough to do. That's okay.
Then the killer's punished.
I'm chill with that. That's
when
easy.
it's something out of their control.
Why not?
It will just
I'm
block
cool with
all
that.
the gens. It gives them a full speed boost on the repair speed and stuff like that.
Like,
And
what?
It's
Like,
out of their-
I'm over here trying to, like, propose solutions to make the game more interesting for newer players, solo queue, trying to alleviate pain points that survivors have in terms of, like, oh, they're getting slugged to death at the beginning of the game. This guy died at 5 gens, and the killer, you know. And I'm giving points to both sides. I'm like, yeah, dude, killer. I recognize there's a killer disparity. Maybe instead of giving every killer like mobility that's lower tier, maybe just make the gens take a little bit longer. Bro, I'm cool with that. That's fine. Real-time tutorials? Yeah, we ain't gonna have that.
Hands. And once again, yes, it is the killers doing well, because killers have to kill quickly to be able to combat against fast gens. The objective is fast. The objective is easy. They need to be able to buy time. It's all about time management. Survivors are buying time for their team to do gens. And then, of course, killer needs to shorten their chases to be fast, to try to combat the time extensions. That's, at the end of the day, that's what the game is all about. So the survivor equivalent, like I just said, would be, hey, you did a gen or two too fast before the killer hooked 2 people. You already got 3 gens done. Oh, we're gonna block all the gens. You can't stop the gens from progressing anymore. Every time a gen gets done, criminal brace activates. You can't touch any gens for 30 seconds, and you can't open the exit gate because no way I will also be base hits. You can't even open the exit gate. The killer has to kill you now. Like, that would be like, if that ever was the case.
Okay, I don't understand that last piece. The killer has to kill you now. You just want free kills. It kind of sounds like he wants a free kill, like a buy 2 get 1 or something.
And how ridiculous that sounds. That's what the killers are experiencing. Is like, you're playing well. You're like, hey, I'm doing my objective, and we're just getting punished. Especially when it's like, the killer's probably not even doing well, for example. Like, you could even say it's like a baby trapper or something, and 3 gens got done in under a minute, and then you just get a bonus, and then he gets no it or something as well, right? Like, just to kind of give an example, because that's what the game is essentially saying. It's saying, hey, you can't kill anymore. You're not supposed to. That's not fair. You can't kill people. So, you know, goodbye. That's what the game's saying, and that's our biggest issue with these changes. So I'm hoping that this offers at least a little bit of some context, a little bit of another perspective on this, because I just have to disagree. Like, I think that there's just like maybe like a misunderstanding somewhere alongside with the perspectives here. So hopefully I was able to provide at least somewhat of a perspective on it.
Well, you are grave misunderstanding the situation.
That's going to be the end of the video. If you want to watch the rest of the original video, it'll be linked in the description. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. If you agree or disagree with any of the points we made here, let me know your thoughts. And please be respectful to this creator. Obviously, maybe like, you know, they probably just don't understand, like, you know, how, like, what the killers are experiencing. And all
I don't know, man. I don't know your struggle. I'm so sorry. Oh, you poor sweet summer child. I don't know what you're going through. I'm so sorry, man.
Tried to inform and try to kind of offer another perspective so they can kind of understand where the frustration is coming from. So once again, all due respect, I will see you guys. While you're down there, also check out the links in the description to support the channel. Check out the Twitch to watch me play Kill Live, and check out the TikTok for, you know, clips and fun stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Dude, okay. Before I go on to anything else, hey, you know what? I don't know if they'd ever see this video. I mean, I don't make long form content. You all know this. Hey, VHS, if you want to have a discussion in Discord, live on stream, whatever, record it on some of these points. It doesn't have to even be a debate. I'm down. This is like my first formal invitation. I'm down. You can come refute some of this garbage that I got from your video and your takes. And I'm not going to say slandering because people say that so aggressively. But I mean, you botched my takes so hard. Like, so hard. And what's weird is you even agreed with the basis of what I was saying, that you were fine with some of these changes, but you wanted some of the downsides removed or adjusted. I mean, we kind of both agree. So it's kind of interesting. We're kind of cut from the same cloth in that way, you know? But the misslandering of my points and what I was talking about in terms of aggressive slugging and tunneling, and how you kept somehow putting me in this box of how I don't understand any of it is crazy to me, but okay. Maybe they just don't understand. Been playing the game since it came out. I have like 12,000 hours, dude. I don't get it. You guys want to see this conversation between me? I can put this in the video too. We can look at a couple comments on the video. Some of them are funny. I'm not really gonna. This is all a big lie. Slugging and tunneling was a problem. Survivors would take OTR and base on break. Not everyone wants to bring a perk. It's also one of the things that like some people like to say a lot is if survivors want to evade or get around slugging and tunneling, etc., they should just bring in perks. But the minute that a killer starts complaining about flashlight saves or flashlights and you say Lightborn, they go, whoa, 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 whoa. I shouldn't have to bring in a perk. Okay, but I guess we have to. Every single time there's a slight inconvenience, I suppose. Fellas smoking that high-grade 12th dimensional plane Divine Enlightenment Zaza if he thinks any of these changes are healthy for the game. Well, that's weird. You must also feel that way about VHS because they also somewhat agree that some of the changes are good. So, I mean, hey, you know, I don't know why you talk crap on your favorite content creator, but hey, here we are. Yeah, he hearted everything. No disrespect though, right? He's a massive rage baiter, and I'm pretty sure he's botting. He has only 980 views most of the time and yet has 40,000 subs. Yeah, I only do really shorts content. I don't make long form videos, by the way. I mean, you could tell if you just went on my channel, I literally just re-upload my TikToks to YouTube. I think like 3 or 4 TikToks essentially were the cause of like 30,000 subs. I don't post long form content. I suck at it. I hate it. It's boring. It triggers me. I have no patience for it. I hate making videos. It is what it is. All my subs are long or like shorts viewers, and they don't care for long form videos. My bad. Looks like the entity ate so much that now it just want to make it easier for the survivors. Like, bro, what? Calling killers the T word for slugging is crazy. What? Is that supposed to be toxic? Oh, or a turd? Oh, why did we not? Bro, I get that we're kind of going woke, but are we not saying turd? Are we not saying turd? Is this how far we've fallen? Is it, bro? I'm down to not say like transphobic, racist, discriminatory, but turd? That's where we're at. That's where. Okay, that's where we're at, I guess. All right, sick, dude. Dude, I don't even know. I like your DVD to fall asleep to videos. Nice show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad you like them. There's something easy for my brain to do. Okay. Whatever. Again, dude, I'll even give this video a like. I'm your 100th like. There you go. Here we go. Hey. I am your 100th like on the video. Wanna have a discussion on some of these points? There you go, bud. The classy guy. Sip canceled. He said the T word. Bro, I'm done. I'm done, man. I said turd. It's over for me. Okay, so let's take a peek. I want to show you. I don't care that I'm not doxing it. Oh, I can't show Discord. I have to disable stream. So this person, I'm not gonna show all of this because I don't really care. But there was something I wanted to, bro. Like him and I went back and forth. I'm gonna get a banned on Twitch cussing like that. True. Hello, I saw your video about the patch, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't help but notice in your video you talked about killers tunneling or slugging at 5 gens. Just want to say this is a very bad example because this rarely ever happens. So I went on to say, no. Oh, what did they also say? It's not a common occurrence for most killers to do that. If that happens, then it's usually like a once in a lifetime, pretty much. Okay. So this person started out saying some crazy unhinged shit, in my opinion. They said, hey, yo, people don't really tunnel at 5 gens. That rarely ever happens. And I simply said to them, well, I experience it myself from time to time, and it happens to a lot of people I play with. It's more common than you think. And what is their first response? Okay, but that's not really the killer's fault. It's the dev's fault for making their pacing shit. So immediately they say, hey, this thing that you said happens doesn't happen. And then when I say, no, yes, it does, they go, well, there's a reason it happens. You just don't understand. Gamer, you have stick to an opinion. You need to stick. Like, do you hold this opinion or don't you? Because now you're just agreeing with me. Why are you agreeing with me? Why didn't you block them? Sometimes this interests me. It tickles a certain spot in my brain. Yeah, I don't know. More or less, I'm not gonna go through all this because it's just a little bit of back and forth. We're more so cordial. This person was pretty cordial. I started to get a little bit irritated. Not that I was talking about bad pacing, etc., etc. Talking about survivors having their hands held. Yeah. But what's funny, the reason I kind of wanted to bring that up, it wasn't to expose that person for being kind of weird, but now I'm going to expose them. And that's the person that led me to the VHS, the video that we just watched. So, cool. So if you go on my video and you scroll down here somewhere, because he made a comment about how I should go through and look at my comments and interact with people. Let's look at the Plague Gaming comment, shall we, on my video? Let's take a peek. Siptonic, oh my god, I cannot believe for a moment I was about to like you. First of all, don't give a shit. Don't care, don't know who you are. If you want to hate me, that's fine. If you want to have a shrine in your closet that is the antithesis to everything that I'm not, that's fine. You are literally just an entitled survivor main that gets pissy when killers do their job. First off, killers tunneling or slugging at 5 gens is literally extremely rare. I can't believe you actually think these are healthy changes. Survivors like you are the reason why DBD is in such a shitty state. His behavior listens to clowns like you. These changes are not healthy in any way and will literally make killer unplayable. Yeah, you don't know how many times I saw on Twitter, even before the patch PTB went live, killers were threatening to quit the game, stop playing, that it was going to ruin the game, DBD would be dead. I'm not kidding. Even people that had thousands. This shit drives me up the wall. Tunneling is such a useful strategy, especially now, so you agree that it happens. Okay. Yeah, lower tier killers. Got it. The changes literally punish the killers for doing the objective. This isn't even the correct definition of tunneling in the patch, which is why I specified tunneling at like 5 gens, but okay. Literally punishes strategic tunneling. By the way, tunneling, and I'm fine with it not. I think I made it clear as much. I even made it clear to them. If these changes would go live, everyone would quit DBD. Dude, like, how are you going to hop in my DMs to try and have a cordial conversation? Point me to the YouTube comments where you act like a fucking child. What are we doing? When was the last survivor-sided patch? It never existed past 6.1. Well, maybe the anti-camp mechanic. I don't know. Your comment? Bro, okay, let me pull this up really quick, and then I need to start the lobbies and get my food out of the fucking fridge because I'm starving. Why am I Googling Google? I do this when my brain is off. DBD patch, I think it's 6.1, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here we go. So anytime somebody tries to tell me something about holding survivors' hands or survivor updates or patches or killer never gets anything, some of you might remember a patch that existed some time ago, released in 2022. So this is now over 3 years old, okay? This was a major killer buff patch that made killer a lot stronger at base kit. You could say it started to hold the hands of killer players and frolic them through the field to free kills. I don't know. I don't care what you say, but regardless, I wanna show you this because stop staring at Tori. Everyone seems to think killers never get anything in survivors. I don't know where the survivor patches are. Like, if we were to go through all these updates and patches, I don't know that I would really find anything crazy. So let's take a look, shall we? Examples of hand-holding. Generators now take 90 seconds for a single survivor to repair. Was 80. That's, at the very least, 50 extra seconds of generator time a game, not including any of the time the generators are regressed and slowed down, especially if they get above 80 seconds and then get regressed, because otherwise they would have been completed. So at the very least, an extra minute of generator time, almost an extra gen. You have slowdown, it's about an extra gen. Okay, cool, whatever. Killers kicking a generator now immediately cause a 2.5% loss of progression. Oh, they got a little hand-holding here. They got regression added to the generators. Now you have to actually get the generator out of regression. You can't just tap it. So we got a little bit of a buff, right? Today I could finally take borrowed time off. Yes. Bloodlust trigger time, small buff to Bloodlust, mainly just 2 and 3. It goes, so Survivor, or Killers. Now, if you want to talk about a hand-holding experience, let's talk about Bloodlust, shall we? It's a hand-holding experience for Killers, and it's pretty crazy, right? If you don't do your job well and get hits and downs, well, you get faster to accommodate for your lack of skill, right? Now, I'm obviously saying this in retrospect to like how a lot of people try and phrase things to me and how that last video phrased things, but okay. The following killer actions have been sped up. Oh, wow, okay, what's been sped up, you might ask? Kicking a pallet or a wall by a little bit, kicking a generator by 0.2 seconds, cooldown time after a successful hit. Oh, so you're telling me that there's a successful hit now, their cooldown is quicker, so they can chase. Oh, but also the speed boost survivors get after getting hit have been reduced. So survivor wipes their weapon quicker, and the survivor doesn't make it as far. Crazy. All right. Survivors now get base kit BT. Okay, it's a nerfed version of what current BT looks like. And unhooked survivors get a haste speed bonus. A speed bonus of endurance effects are removed if the survivor performs. So we added conspicuous actions. And we have these. So we get a little bit of a buff, sort of protecting killers from getting hit immediately after being unhooked. And then we got a slew of killer benefits that are majorly game impacting. And then obviously there were some perk changes. I think this was like the first meta perk shakeup. But 6.1 was a huge patch for killers that gave them a lot of benefits, and I will admit it was needed. It was needed. They wanted the kill rates for killer to be closer to 60%, and they accomplished that. Now I think the average kill rate is 65-ish or something higher. I don't know. Just kind of an interesting little tidbit that I thought I would share. Anyways, I don't know. That's going to probably be the end of this video. I don't know if this person will take my invitation to have a conversation, debate, etc., what have you. But I don't know, man. What do you guys think? I'm going to go get my food. I'm going to turn the alerts back on and everything. That's going to probably be the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I don't make long form content.